At the beginning of the movie, a woman named Echa describes a strange dream in which she is in an enormous house. Suddenly, an extraordinarily handsome man appeared and unexpectedly asked her to have sex with him. A shadowy figure appears outside Echa's door, and a demonic entity walks inside the room. The entity begins to peel away Echa's clothes, each movement slow and deliberate, like a predator savoring its prey. She feels an irresistible pull, a warmth that seeps through her skin, drawing her deeper into the dream. In this twisted reverie, the figure before her is a handsome man with a magnetic charm that makes her heart race. She leans into him willingly. After a while, the entity is revealed sitting atop her, not a lover, but a demon, and the scene abruptly cuts to black. At 4 a.m., Echa's husband Ariel returns from work and asks if she's making tea, to which she replies that he finishes at midnight, but she never knows exactly when he'll come home. He reminds her he mentioned working overtime, and she asks if it's every night. As he's leaving, she tells him to hang his jacket properly, which he does and walks away, but the demon causes the jacket to fall. When Echa comes out, she picks it up and hangs it back, and when Ariel asks about food, she says it would go stale if left out. He suggests making eggs or noodles to please him occasionally, and she says there's no harm in sharing meals. He accuses her of always objecting and asks what she wants, to which she says if she answers, he'll just get mad again. He asks, isn't she tired of arguing daily? And she replies she's simply exhausted from work and waking up early mornings. Later, Ariel comes downstairs to eat, but as soon as he sits down, Echa checks her phone, then gets up and leaves. At work, Echa says she's been married for 3 years, but all they do is fight, and wonders if she should separate from Ariel, to which Linda replies it's easy to say but hard to do, noting that every time she has that dream, the two of them always fight. Echa says Ariel has changed. He no longer flirts, buys gifts, or does anything special, to which Linda explains that's how marriage is. Once you live together, you see both the good and the bad, and arguments are normal. That's why women need to be smart and create a peaceful home. Echa asks, so it's my fault? To which Linda asks, have you done what I told you yet? And when Echa remains silent, Linda says she has told her many times that men see marriage as the finish line, while women see it as the starting line. She adds, you want to be pampered like when you were dating, but do you still dress up like you did back then? Then she asks, when was the last time you made love with him? Echa can't remember, so Linda suggests that's why. When you have sex, you shouldn't just stay silent and feel the pleasure. She explains that sex is about expressing your feelings and asks, have you ever expressed your feelings to your husband? Restu asks Ariel if he avoids going home out of fear of feeling like a failure, reassuring him that it's a normal emotion. Ariel confesses he sometimes thinks Echa would have been happier without him, to which Restu asks if she ever demanded a house or anything material. And when Ariel says no, Restu suggests that perhaps it's him who feels inadequate. He points out that Echa always wakes up when you come home, not just out of duty, but because she's waiting to be desired. He then tells Ariel to go home, reminding him that a wife needs to be seduced every now and then. When Ariel returns home, he finds Echa waiting for him, dressed to seduce him. Without a word, drawn by desire, he leads her to the bedroom. They fall into each other with urgency and passionately begin making out, but just as the heat rises, the demon appears, and in the next moment, the demon is seen loving Echa with the same hunger and intimacy, and the scene abruptly cuts here. Next, we see Echa in the demon's lair, where he places a flower on her stomach and says, you will never be able to escape from all this, my bride. Echa finds herself in the lair. She quickly gets up and tries to escape, but the demon grabs her arm and then vanishes. Confused and terrified, she runs off in search of another way out, but comes face to face with the man from her dream. He begins slowly walking toward her, but the demon suddenly pulls her down, and she wakes up in her bedroom. However, she finds the flower from her dream in her bed. Later, when Echa comes downstairs, she's thrilled to see Ariel has cooked for them, but she says, you only slept a few hours. And he replies, it's worth it if it makes you happy. After this, They eat together, and Echa enjoys the meal. Ariel then takes her hand and apologizes, admitting he's been overwhelmed by small things and has hurt their relationship. He suggests they start again from zero, to which Echa jokes, "What is this? A gas station? Starting from zero?" Ariel smiles and offers to take her to work, to which she says he won't get enough rest, but he says it's fine. He then asks if she's meeting Emma later, and she confirms. She says she will let Emma know and gets up to text her, but as she does, their wedding photo frame suddenly cracks. Later, while working, Echa is shocked to find a flower placed on top of one of the boxes. She reaches out to pick it up, but someone else grabs it first, and to her horror, it's the man from her dream. As he slowly approaches, her fear intensifies when she realizes it's actually a demon. In a panic, she stumbles into the boxes, and the demon reveals its terrifying form, prompting Echa to run out of the room in fear. Echa rushes to the washroom to vomit, and then she straightens up. But when she bends over again, the demon is behind her. Sensing something is wrong, Echa quickly turns around just as Linda rushes in. Echa turns to clean the basin, then hurries out without saying a word. Confused, Linda looks into the sink and is shocked to see blood and worms. Later, a mascot approaches Echa from behind, and Emma suddenly pops out from behind it, startling her. As she takes her seat, Emma notices Echa staring at the mascot and asks what's wrong, but Echa brushes it off and asks where Desta is, to which Emma replies, "Let's not talk about him as it's complicated." Echa, surprised, says they've been dating for 2 years and asks if they're planning to get engaged, to which Emma says she works from morning until night and doesn't have the energy to deal with his antics anymore. Curious, Emma asks if marriage is always like that, and whether Echa and Ariel argue every day, to which Echa admits they argue sometimes, but says no relationship is perfect. She explains that despite the rough patches, there are many sweet moments, and for her, happiness is waking up next to the right person. When Emma asks how she knows Ariel is the right one, Echa compares finding a partner to finding a friend you can talk to, because in old age, what matters most is having someone to talk to. Emma questions if talking alone can solve problems, and Echa replies that every relationship has its highs and lows. Emma then shares she visited their parents last month, who, as always, asked about a grandchild, to which Echa tells her to pray for it, but suddenly admits she's been feeling strange and nauseous all day. Concerned, Emma urges her to ask Ariel to get her some medicine. Meanwhile, Ariel is on his way home after finishing his shift when he suddenly sees Echa walking past him. Confused, he calls out to her and follows, but she quickly disappears. He then hears a distant scream and runs toward the sound, only to find Echa standing in the distance, screaming in pain. As he approaches her, he is horrified to see her bleeding, and then she gives birth to a baby. Ariel stands frozen in shock as Echa slowly straightens up, a chilling smile spreading across her face, and the newborn, with an eerie presence, begins crawling toward Ariel. Terrified, he turns to run but bumps into Restu, who asks what's wrong. Unable to respond, Ariel watches as Restu heads toward where Echa was, but to Ariel's shock, both Echa and the baby have completely vanished. At home, Ariel is still visibly shaken, and noticing his state, Echa asks what's wrong, but he brushes it off, saying he just experienced something strange at work. He then gives her some medicine and says Sari will come by tomorrow to give her a massage, and then quietly walks away, leaving her puzzled. Later, when Echa comes to bed, Ariel turns toward her, intending to speak, but the horrifying scene from earlier flashes in his mind, and overwhelmed, he silently turns away instead. The next day, while Sari is giving Echa a massage, she gently checks Aicha's stomach and tells her that she is 3 months pregnant and that the baby is healthy. At work, as Aicha's colleagues congratulate her on her pregnancy, Linda stands off to the side, looking worried. Later, Aicha sends a photo to Emma, telling her that she's finally pregnant. Linda approaches her and asks, "What happened to you yesterday?" To which Aicha replies, "She is pregnant." Linda asks, "Are you serious?" And Aicha confirms, saying, Sari said it's been 3 months. Linda then asks, but didn't you just sleep with your husband? And when Echa asks what she's implying, Linda responds that she means no harm. She's just confused. Echa asks, you don't like seeing me pregnant? And then turns to head to the restroom. That night, Ariel tells Restu he and Echa last tried for a baby 6 months ago, so she couldn't be 3 months pregnant. When asked if he suspects cheating, Ariel says he's unsure. Restu questions if Echa is truly pregnant since only the midwife said so, and then tells him that he's switching him to the afternoon shift so he can spend more time at home with Echa. Later, Ariel hears a car alarm blaring nearby, but when he looks around, he sees no one, and then the alarm shuts off on its own. Puzzled, he turns to leave, but after taking a few steps, he hears the eerie sound of a baby crying. Alarmed, he turns back and approaches the car to investigate. He peers inside but sees nothing unusual, even though the crying seems to be coming from within the car. Ariel stands frozen, confused, and unable to make sense of what's happening, completely unaware that the demon is slowly crawling toward him from behind. Growing more unsettled, Ariel checks underneath the vehicle, but he sees nothing there as well. And when he stands up, the baby's cry continues from inside. He crouches down for another look, and suddenly, the baby appears out of nowhere, startling him. At home, Ariel checks Echa's phone and asks who Antu is, to which she replies that he's the gallon water seller. Then he asks about Dini and why she chats with him so often, to which she explains that Dini is a school friend who frequently complains about his wife. Growing more suspicious, Ariel approaches her and asks if she has met Denny, and when Echa questions why he keeps asking, he points out that they just had sex a few days ago, yet she's already 3 months pregnant, which doesn't make sense. Echa replies that if he wants proof, they can go to the doctor tomorrow to settle the matter. The next day, the doctor examines Echa and tells her she's not pregnant. She explains that the midwife's diagnosis was just a guess, and there's no sign of a fetus or fertilization. The doctor describes a rare condition called pseudokinesis, where a woman believes she's pregnant so strongly that her body mimics the symptoms. When Ariel asks if it's like a hallucination, the doctor confirms, saying the brain triggers signs like bloating and missed periods, but it's not a real pregnancy. Later, Echa tells Linda the doctor said she's not pregnant, but insists she feels something moving. Concerned, Linda says they should visit someone who might help. Linda takes Echa to Ustad Zeni, who sees a devilish presence lurking behind Echa, but when she turns around, there's no one there. Zeni invites them in and asks Echa when the dream started, to which Echa replies that she's not exactly sure, but they began after she got married. Zeni interrupts, explaining that Allah created the Jinn, who, like humans, have desires. He mentions that he has met people who claimed the Jinn were drawn to them, often signaled by strange dreams, and perhaps what Echa is experiencing is a result of that. Echa insists her pregnancy has nothing to do with her dreams, but Linda reminds her that the doctor already confirmed she's not pregnant. Echa responds, but I feel like there's something alive inside me. Zeni then gently asks, do you actually feel a fetus in your stomach? To which Echa says, this is my body, so only I can feel that a fetus is moving inside me. Zeni says they'll find out soon enough, but for now, they should stay positive. Frustrated, Echa says, Ariel doesn't believe me, the doctor didn't believe me, and now even Ustad doesn't believe me. And with that, she gets up and walks out. Later, at Echa's house, Linda asks if she truly wants to get pregnant, to which Echa asks, why not? Saying after years of marriage, when you finally have hope, they tell you it's just a hallucination. She then says she don't want to talk about anything. Ariel tells Restu that Echa isn't pregnant, to which Restu says, at least you can relax, because that means she wasn't cheating. Ariel admits he still feels broken, hurt by her pain and his helplessness, to which Restu tells him that's why she really needs you now. Meanwhile, Linda finds a kitten on the road, which she picks up gently and places on a nearby crate to keep it safe. However, as she turns to leave, the kitten lets out a soft meow, prompting Linda to pause and ask, what do you want now? She turns back and walks toward it to check, but to her surprise, the kitten is gone. Confused, she starts looking around for it, only to hear its meow again, this time from behind her. She searches between the nearby crates, but instead of the kitten, she encounters the demon. Terrified, she backs away and runs. But moments later, she hears a monstrous roar, and as she stops, something crashes down on her, and Echa suddenly jolts awake. She rushes outside to check and sees Linda's scooter parked nearby. She hurries toward a crowd, and as she pushes through the people, her gaze falls on a body lying on the ground. She lifts the cover and is horrified to see that it's Linda, brutally disfigured. Ariel arrives shortly after and tries to calm Echa down, but both of them are stunned when they suddenly notice a visible baby bump on her stomach. The next day, Ariel asks Echa what's really going on, to which she responds that she thought it was just a dream, so she didn't think anything was wrong. But she had no idea dreams could come true, and she also didn't realize that her dream about Linda's death was actually happening in real life. Ariel tells her it's not her fault, but Echa turns to him and insists that it is. She says she's the one who failed to take a stand, but now she knows how to fix it, and she needs his help. Next, we see them at Zany's place, where he performs a ritual by reciting prayers to summon the demon. As time passes, something strange begins to happen to Echa. Her expression grows twisted and tormented. Eventually, Zany finishes his prayers, and Echa opens her eyes, now glowing red, possessed by the demon. The demon asks, "Who dares to disturb my bride?" To which Zany replies, "She is not your bride, as she already belongs to someone else. So leave her body." But the demon says, "Only I can fulfill this woman's desires." Zany counters, "You know nothing, and you can do nothing," and then resumes his prayers. As he continues, the demon's child begins to move inside Echa's stomach, causing her excruciating pain. But after a tense struggle, her stomach begins to shrink, and at last, Zany successfully expels the demon. Zany explains that jinns can fall in love with humans and may harm or kill anyone who gets in the way. He warns that a Jin named Dasim targets married women, planting emotional turmoil to ruin their marriages. When Ariel asks what to do now, Zany says to return if Echa's symptoms persist. He then gives Ariel a spiritual verse for Echa to recite regularly. That night, Ariel finds Echa awake and asks if she's still having the dream. She replies no, and asks for forgiveness for hiding the dream all these years, fearing it might cause conflict, to which Ariel reassures her it's not her fault, and suggests they start fresh. One evening, Ariel tells Echa he's been offered a promotion to replace Restu, who plans to resign, but it requires a week of out-of-town training. He offers to decline, knowing she needs him. Echa insists he shouldn't waste the opportunity, reassuring him she's fine and no longer having the dream. The next night, with Ariel away, Echa calls Emma to ask why she hasn't come, to which Emma explains she's covering for a sick friend and no one else is available, but promises to come tomorrow. Later, Echa begins to doze off while watching TV when she suddenly hears the sound of something falling. She gets up to check and finds Ariel's jacket on the floor. She picks it up and hangs it back, but discovers the verse given by Zany, and as she reads it, she hears the door creak open. Alarmed, she cautiously heads in that direction, only to realize the sounds are actually coming from upstairs. Nervously, she approaches the staircase, where she hears the meow of a cat, so she brushes it off and returns to the living room. After that, she resumes watching TV, but her eyelids grow heavy, and before long, she drifts off to sleep. Now, after some time when she wakes up, she finds that it is morning, which makes her feel relieved. Later at work, a woman suddenly drops to her knees, and when Echa checks on her, she finds her possessed. Echa runs to get help, but another man is also possessed. Terrified, she turns to another coworker, only to hear her say, "Don't go." No matter who she approaches, each person is under the demon's control, and they all say, "You are mine." Echa rushes into a room and quickly locks the door behind her, but when she turns around, she's horrified to see all of them standing at the door. That evening, Echa confides in Emma, feeling helpless and saying nothing she does seems to work, to which Emma encourages her to stay calm and suggests they visit Ustad Ziny in the morning. Worried, Echa asks, "What if the Jinn comes back and hurts you?" To which Emma reassures her, saying they have to try and she believes they'll get through the night. Just then, her phone rings, and she gets up and goes to answer the call. Ariel tells her that he's borrowed a car from the office and will head straight to Ustad Zaini as soon as he arrives. He then asks to speak to Emma, and when Echa hands her the phone, Ariel tells Emma to take care of Echa, and no matter what happens, not to let her fall asleep, because the last time she dreamed, Linda died. Emma tries to keep Echa engaged in conversation to help her stay awake, but Echa's eyes begin to droop, and before long, she falls asleep. Panic sets in as Emma realizes this, and she tries to wake her up, but the demon hurls her down. Dazed and confused, Emma sits and tries again, but the demon throws her out of the room and slams the door shut. Then, the demon places a hand on Echa's stomach, and a baby bump slowly begins to form, and the demon is shown lying beside her. Moments later, Echa jolts awake. Disoriented, she sits up and is horrified to see the bump on her stomach. In a wave of terror and frustration, she begins punching her belly, but after a few moments, she starts bleeding. Desperate to rid herself of the demonic presence growing inside her, Echa grabs a metal hanger and stumbles into the bathroom. Driven by fear and anguish, she uses it in a frantic attempt to end the nightmare, enduring unbearable pain as she forces it further in. After a moment, writhing worms spill out and her baby bump begins to shrink. Echa feels she's finally free of the demon's child, but the bump suddenly reappears. Overcome with rage and horror, she shouts in despair and drives the hanger in again. Later, when Ariel returns home, he finds Echa unconscious on the bathroom floor. Panicked, he calls for Emma, who regains consciousness hearing his calls. Next, we see Echa at Janie's school, tied to a cot and covered with a sheet, surrounded by Zenny and his students. They begin to recite powerful prayers, and meanwhile, Echa finds herself in the demon's lair. Terrified, she tries to run, but the demon blocks her. She turns to flee the other way, only to confront its true, terrifying form. It chases her, catches her, and starts to hurt her. Suddenly, Echa's eyes open, now fully possessed. Zaini and his students continue their prayers with determination, but Echa starts to growl in a deep, inhuman voice and slowly sits upright on the cot. The demon, using Echa's body, taunts and mocks everyone present. But Zaini stands his ground, unwavering, and with firm resolve, he forces her back down onto the cot. After a brief pause, Zaini resumes the prayers, but in response, the demon lifts both Echa and the cot into the air. A moment later, the cot crashes back down. Echa tears the sheet off, and the lights go off. The demon appears on top of Echa and crashes down onto the bed with her, growling menacingly at Zaini. But Zaini continues his prayers with unwavering focus. The demon then suddenly appears inches from Zaini's face, snarling, before disappearing again. Ariel rushes to Echa's side, and fighting back panic, he leans in close and gently whispers in her ear, "Please wake up." He apologizes, saying, "I haven't kept my promise, the one I made when I married you, to stay by your side, to grow old together, to laugh with you." As he speaks, Echa begins to remember the tender moments from their wedding, their vows, their joy, and their love. Ariel continues, "It'll all mean nothing if you don't come back to me." He says he believes that she is strong and can fight this. He then softly begins reciting prayers into her ear, and moved by his voice, Echa slowly starts repeating the prayers with him. The power of the verses gives her strength, and the demon's hold begins to weaken. In the dream realm, its lair begins to crack and collapse. The walls tremble, and finally, the door bursts open. Echa breaks free from her restraints and runs as fast as she can. As she escapes, the demon's lair collapses entirely, and Echa suddenly wakes up from her nightmare, free from the demon. 6 years later, Echa and Ariel are parents of 2 kids. Emma steps outside to check on their son Arka and sees him talking to the stranger. She rushes over and apologizes if Arka has caused any trouble. But as she takes Arka back toward the house, it's revealed that the man is the Jinn in human form.